And we are live. Hi, everybody. Warning, the stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. Uh-oh. It's okay. It'll be okay. I promise. I mean, there is a lot of news to talk about, so.
Is there?
Logitech StreamCam. Logitech is releasing a webcam I know nothing about, and all it does is say it's designed for streamers. Well, what else would it be designed for? Unwanted movement. It does autofocus. Same stuff as always. I think they just rebrand. Oh, it's USB-C. That's the difference. USB.
Where?
Is there anything? I know there's a lot of 10X news that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about that. If there's anything comes to mind, let me, chime in.
Actually, there is one thing I wouldn't mind talking about.
Yeah.
I had written this thing earlier today about subscription service fatigue.
Okay.
I kind of stepped
website?
through like all of the video streaming services that we subscribe to, and it's like it's actually kind of insane.
Where it's on the website? Oh, subscription fatigue. There we go.
I know it's kind of an interesting thing potentially.
My audio is low compared to Paul. You know what's here's the thing. You guys are hearing something that I'm not, and I don't know what to do about it because I got to hot this up, I guess, a little bit more. How is that? I mean, I'm really loud in my head. I don't know if there's something going down. Turn Paul down some too. Okay.
Yeah. I dare you.
I dare you to turn me down. Where are you? So if we do that, is that better? Paul, talk.
Today, Samsung will officially announce the Galaxy S20 series.
Okay, Samsung is announcing stuff today. How's that? Is that leveled?
Let's see.
Let's see.
11 a.m. Oh, this isn't until. Well, actually, this doesn't start till 2.
No, it doesn't start till. Yeah, it starts at 2
Oh, we could
o'clock.
potentially catch this still. Let's
Yeah,
get
we
moving,
could.
dude. Come
Yeah.
on.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Sorry. Okay.
Far off today. I don't know what's going on anymore.
I wonder if
A lot of sponsored post requests.
Oh my god, I get so many of those and I have no words as to why. I don't get it. I get like every day I get like 5 of them. So I cranked the audio a little bit, John. Does that make any difference to you? Am I louder?
What now?
So I have no way of balancing. I hear Paul very differently than what goes out on the feed, so I can't even tell what we're balanced. I only can balance them internally.
I wish I was internally balanced.
Oh, me too.
All
right, I'm on the website there. Got a bunch of people. The sound's fine to me. Cool. All right, we're ready.
Are we?
I'm never ready for anything. All right. We'll begin in. Oh, let me tweet out that we're live. Sorry.
Incredible.
Did you tweet out that we're live? Let's see. Let me do this. What the? My H key is broken, along with my E and my T.
I can't write letters to anyone I want. I don't have a T or an H or an E.
Live. Join us. And I got to slam on this keyboard. I'm taking this laptop to Apple because they need to do a full replacement on the keyboard. Because they built the biggest piece of crap ever. All the keys are starting to fall off, Paul. That's the other new thing. They're just all falling apart.
You're lucky your keyboard works at all.
Yeah.
Jeez, why is that so bright?
What the Tech is Live. Join us. There we go. All right. Okay. I'm good to go. You ready?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. You must be using a MacBook Pro. I am. I have a 2018 here. But in my office, I have the new one, and it's so much better. All right, let's begin in 3, 2, and 1. What the Tech is brought to you by Future. Future is a fitness app that matches you with an elite personal trainer for one-on-one remote training. Sign up for Future today at tryfuture.com/Andrew and get your first 2 weeks with your personal trainer for only $1. TextExpander helps you communicate smarter. Visit textexpander.com/podcast for 20% off your first year.
What's the tech? What's the tech?
Everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
I'm pretty good.
Me too. Same here. Pretty good here today. A lot of news to talk about. There's a Samsung event happening today as we speak. As we record this, it's happening. Sprint T-Mobile merger, iPhone 9 news, a lot of Windows 10X news. Paul, it is a, as they say, a jam-packed...
Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah, it's surprisingly a jam-packed tech week considering how slow things have been since the beginning of the new year. I do want to talk. I do want to begin with a couple things here, but generally, a lot of news on Thurrott.com right now on the a lot of information about Windows 10X. Now, I saw you and Brad recorded a podcast a couple days ago before a lot of this stuff came out, and I want to get your opinion on what the information that's trickling down, what you think, and how it's going for developers, because they've opened up a lot of tools for developers, and a lot of the success of these dual display devices is going to be in the hands of the developer. So
That is true.
So what do you? Let's talk about this. You start.
The developer angle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, actually, if you kind of take a step back, Microsoft is releasing dual screen devices that run Android and Windows 10X, this new version of Windows. Microsoft is, they're really not doing much on the developer side on Android. Android 10 already supports dual screen and folding screen devices, and that's what they're building off of. So they provided an emulator for Android Studio, which is the way that most developers create Android apps, so that you can test your apps on that particular device. So, okay, then that's cool. And that was updated today. That's fine. The Windows 10X side is kind of interesting because Windows 10X is what Microsoft calls a new, actually, I just forgot the word. It's a new, not flavor. They're using a weird new word. Anyway, sorry about that. But, it's a new Windows 10 experience or whatever. And it's just another version of Windows 10. So the initial release will be on dual screen devices. But the one thing that we've been saying for a long time is that Windows 10X is really not about dual screen devices. It's this new version of Windows. It's a way to move the platform forward. It's the latest attempt to kind of overcome the past and make Windows a more modern operating system. And as such, it has a much bigger future than just dual screen devices. I have to guess here because I'll never say this, but I would imagine the reason they're tying it to dual screen now for the beginning is, their previous efforts doing this have failed, and they're trying to, make this one not fail. And so they want it to be attached to something semi-exciting.
So the bizarre thing here is that, I know that this is kind of, they're displaying the future of Windows, and it's almost a split from the core of Windows 10, essentially, right? This is
it's look, if you can get over the dual screen stuff, because honestly, in the Windows world, dual screen doesn't mean a lot. We already have these capabilities via Snap, where you can have two apps side by side on a single landscape screen. And so, if you have a split down the middle, a seam, as Microsoft calls it, you have this dual screen device. There's really no difference, right? I mean, you can have two apps side by side. You can have one app that has two different views. You can do that now in the Mail app, for example, on Windows 10. You can have an app that spans both. That's just full screen, really. It supports the different orientations or postures, as they're calling it. For some, they have to have a different word for everything.
Postures, yes.
Yeah, but whatever. But obviously these things, so if you picture, I'm trying to think, how do I orient this? Like if you have a two screens that are like like a two-screen device like this. One of the things you can do is use it in like a clamshell kind of a form factor. So it's a little different. It's still a little different. I mean, you still get some interesting postures, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term. So on the Windows side, there's probably more work going into the SDKs that they have, and that's where things get kind of interesting for developers because they're supporting, all of the different ways that people can develop apps for Windows, including the Win32 stuff, which includes WPF and WinForms, the UWP stuff, which is the Windows 10 native app platform, web apps that includes PWAs, React Native, all kinds of different things there, and Xamarin Forms, which is it's a cross-platform mobile developer framework is not the right word because it's really an environment. It used to be a separate thing. Now it's part of Visual Studio. And that was the interesting one to me in a way because it used to be for Windows Phone, Android and iOS. Windows Phone has gone away. And now what they're saying is we're going to let you develop an app that will run on Windows 10X as well as on Android because both these platforms support dual screen. And that's kind of interesting. But to me, the bigger deal is something that we've been talking about since this time last year, I believe, which is that Windows 10X is really about modernizing the platform. And we knew that software containers were going to be part of it, but we didn't really have many details.
And by the way,
And
you're talking about modernizing as a whole, not this split experience.
Yeah, forget the split screen thing because that is really not what Windows 10X is all about. That's not it. And in fact, here's how you know it's not it. I guess maybe this is a better way to say it. A lot of the initial devices that PC makers have announced that will run Windows 10X will also be made available in versions that run Windows 10 Pro. And so as far as like there being two screens, there's nothing there that normal Windows 10 can't handle. Windows 10X is much more important than that. It's kind of, it is to Windows 10, I guess, what Windows RT was to Windows 8. It was an attempt to bring something that's like Windows. In that case, it was on a different hardware platform. But the idea was we're going to simplify this thing. We're going to minimize the use of legacy technologies, right? And in a way and try to move forward. And it failed. I mean, it just failed because when people think of Windows, when they see Windows, what they want, they want to run the apps that they have. And that thing couldn't run those apps.
It wasn't recognizable to the consumer. And the reality is there wasn't that much of a difference between Windows 8 and Windows RT where the consumer could look at this and say, well, other than app compatible, but if you're looking at it, you're going to say, oh, this is Windows. You're going to purchase it and not understand why you can't run the applications you want to run. Listen, here's the other thing with this. I understand why it's so heavily focused on these dual display. A lot of the media coverage, right? A lot of the news that's coming out has to do with these dual display devices. I think it has to do with the fact that they want people to kind of understand this is a different thing. This is a separate device. This is
their plan. Thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, their plan is actually a good one. In the past, the message was always like, we have this thing that has the word Windows in it. So you're going to think it's Windows, but it doesn't actually do everything that Windows does. And this is a problem today. It's a problem with Windows 10 NS mode. It's a problem with Windows 10 on ARM, where it is basically Windows, but then it fails in different ways. And it doesn't do everything that Windows does. And it's confusing and enraging even to the user.
Yeah.
This time what they're doing is saying, hey, we have this new thing. It's called Windows 10X. I actually think that part's a little confusing, but it's not going to look like Windows. But here's the thing. It's actually it will run everything. It will run all your applications, 32-bit, 64-bit, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's really cool. And so that's, in many ways, doing more than people expect, not doing less. So it's, in that sense, it's completely different. But what they're going to be able to do is, because this has been the plan all along, but they can just pretend it wasn't, and say, hey, people seem to really respond to Windows 10X. So we're going to bring those capabilities to Windows 10, or to different form factors. So you can run it on a normal laptop or on something you might otherwise use normal Windows 10, desktop Windows 10, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's their plan. It very clearly is their plan. Because the thing is, we knew containers were coming. And as far as the technology they're using, and as far as if you're confused about what containers are, I mean, you just think of it as a way to sandbox an application from the rest of the operating system, which protects each from each other. But for the application running in that container, it thinks it's just running on the computer normally. It has access to the registry, it has access to RAM, it has access to the file system, whatever. It has no idea that it is being contained, right? That's the point. It just runs, it just works. You know, you don't have to think about it. That's really good for app developers. Like their existing apps will just run. It's really good for users. Your existing apps will just run. But what it allows them to do is create a system that's more secure, gets better battery life, you know, et cetera, et cetera. All the advantages of these other platforms they tried and failed with. But the thing we learned today, so we knew that, like we knew that was coming. We've been saying this again for I think about a year. The thing that was new today was they said everything is contained. So
Yeah.
the entire operating system runs on containers. It's not just those legacy apps. I thought it was just going to be legacy apps, like basically desktop apps. It's all apps. It's the entire operating system. And so they have an effect. I mean, we'll have to see what it looks like. You know, so people who are much smarter than me, Rafael Rivera, the Walking Cat on Twitter, will go and look at this emulator that Microsoft is providing to developers, and they'll be able to pick it apart and see how it is the same or different than regular Windows. But what it looks like to me from a very high level is they've taken this legacy code base, they've made it more secure and resilient, they've modernized it, and then they've set it up for the future. And look, they should have done this 10 years ago, maybe even longer ago, but because when people talk about the future Windows or have been talking about the future Windows for a long time, they've basically been describing exactly this system. You know, the problem with Win32 desktop applications is that it's like the Wild West. They can overwrite memory. It's easy to do malware. They should be run in containers. We've been talking about this forever. And so they're going to do this to the entire operating system. So
How is it?
this is modern Windows.
So how does it, as far as performance of the operating system goes, how does running everything in a container essentially impact the performance of these applications that
Right.
I know that they're being
Yeah.
faked into thinking they're in a container, but I'm
Yeah,
guessing
but
the
there's an
developer.
overhead to this. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. So I don't know. You know, I don't have it, right? So I haven't looked at it yet. But here's what I'll say. I review laptops all the time. And look, right next to me is it's a 10th generation Intel Core i7 with some crazy fast NVMe SSD with Optane memory attached to it, and it's crazy. But what I run on this thing is Notepad and Word and a browser and an email. Well, I don't even run an email application. It's in the browser. Twitter. That stuff works on anything. One of the things I did recently as an experiment is I brought back a laptop that I purchased in I want to say it was August or September 2012. So over 5 years ago. I want to say it was a third generation. Maybe it was a fifth generation, whatever generation Intel Core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, you know, 128 gigabyte SSD. It runs great. It's fine, you know. So I think for most mainstream tasks, it's this thing's not going to come out and replace like a gaming, you know, machine. It's not going to come out and replace like a developer workstation or a CAD workstation or whatever it is. But for most mainstream tasks, it's probably going to be fine. I don't think you're going to notice anything. Is there anyone on earth who runs Office every day, runs a web browser, who has noticed the switch from dual core to quad core? I mean, has seriously noticed? I don't think so.
No, probably not.
No. You could pretend you notice or whatever, but I don't know.
But
I
if
mean,
that's all
I'm
you're
telling you, I
doing.
review laptops all the time. I don't
Yeah.
day to day. You don't notice that. So there is enough power built into Intel. These you know, the x86 platform, x64, whatever, for this to work fine. The other thing they're doing that's really interesting, I don't know if you caught this in the beginning, is Intel is working with Microsoft on new chipsets that are x64 based, that are architected like ARM chipsets, where you have big cores and little cores.
Yeah.
And so and that's part of the containerization. So when you're running a Win32 app, obviously you're going to plow that through the big cores. It's going to run like a normal laptop or whatever. But when the thing's just sitting there doing nothing, That's when the small energy efficient cores kick in. Battery life goes up. The fan's not running. It's a smarter hardware system too. So I think Windows 10X will run on existing hardware fine if they want it to. But what we're probably going to see is these mobile chipsets that will come out for these new types of devices, dual screen this year. And then starting next year, you're going to see laptops and tablets and kind of normal PC form factors that will also have this new architecture in them, right?
Are
And
they having issues with the development? Because I found it interesting when they said that a lot of these devices that are going to be Windows 10X devices, right?
yep,
They're
yep,
not going to ship with Windows 10X. They're going to ship
yeah.
with Windows,
So
regular Windows Pro.
Microsoft, yeah, I mean, there was some speculation about that. I would say as of today, I don't think that that's the case. And so if you think about the timing of things, there are basically two big events where PC makers announce hardware. One is CES, obviously, and those devices are typically released in the first half of the year. And the second time is IFA, or whatever, which is in Berlin, I think in September. And those devices are for the holiday season, like the fall and the winter. That PC makers announced PCs that will later run Windows 10X at CES is kind of interesting because we knew that Surface Neo, which is the first explicit Windows 10X PC that we knew about, was not going to ship until this coming fall, like October, November. So I think PC makers wanted to have the excitement of saying, look, we're going to support Windows 10X, but we also want to be able to sell these things in May or June. And that means they're going to have to go out the door with Windows 10 Pro. I don't know if they'll be upgradable to 10X or if literally you'll have the same form factor, but it will have a different chip in it. And the different chip will be that big core, small core thing I was talking about. And that one
Yeah.
will run 10X and the normal quad core one will run Windows 10 Pro. I don't know. But I mean, I would just say that's their decision. They're both Intel based. So for sort of the first time in history, I'm trying to think if there's an exception to this, maybe the first time in history, PC makers will be able to ship a Windows PC that can have two different platforms on it, right? If you think about like what we talked about Windows RT and Windows 8, when Lenovo came out with a Windows RT PC in 2012 or whatever year that was, there wasn't an Intel version of it, right? There was something that was sort of like it, and that ran Intel. There were different
Yeah.
computers. Like you couldn't literally slot in the same or different platforms into the same hardware. Like this time you can.
But
So
how will the little core, big core chipsets function on regular
they won't.
Windows?
I don't think those ones will be able to run both.
It
I
won't be able
think
to.
that
Okay.
yeah, like I
I was
think
curious if there's a benefit, going forward in Windows
yeah,
where
yeah.
law.
No, I think that will be Windows 10X. I think, look, Microsoft could possibly change a desktop version of Windows to work effectively on that kind of system too. Maybe they will. I don't know, but I guess right now you have to speculate. So like Lenovo announced a ThinkPad, whatever it was called, that's going to run 10X, but it's going to come first with Pro. So the two possibilities are it will have the exact same hardware inside and you'll be able to pick between the two when both are available, or they'll just have the same exterior shell and the platform inside will be different. And then which one you get will depend on which hardware you get. So we don't know which way that's going to go. I don't know.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. A lot of this news came
I
out.
feel like I'm not 100% sure I cleared anything up there, but
No, I mean,
I
listen,
hope
I
it's,
think I think it's fascinating because here's the thing. This
yeah.
is a whole new platform, and this is really the future of the direction they're going to head through. I think a lot of people are concentrating on the fact that it's going to run on dual displays because that's how Microsoft
because
is kind of pushing
Microsoft is
this.
pushing that, and
Yeah.
and there are people who get excited about that kind of stuff. But from look, I mean, I've been writing about Windows for 25 plus years, whatever it is. Right before I started covering Microsoft, they introduced a platform that would eventually replace what was then Windows, which was NT. They haven't had something to replace what is now Windows ever since, right? So the first version of Windows NT shipped in 1993. NT didn't really take over for Windows until 2001, right?
Yeah.
When Windows XP came out. Windows first came out in 1985. So the amount of time between Windows 1.0 and Windows XP is 16 years. right? So the amount of time since 2001 is now 19 years, right? So it's kind of, and it's not ready to replace it either. So actually, we should equate it to the 8 years that went between Windows 1.0 and Windows NT 3.1, the first version. I don't know, but I when they first announced Windows RT, I wondered if this was the new NT, and it failed. But what they, all along, I mean, thematically, what they've been trying to do is like, how do we move forward, not disappoint anybody, let everyone run whatever it is they want to run, but we have to do something to eliminate the problems with the platform that everyone is using.
Well, I mean,
The security issues,
RT
performance,
Windows
battery life.
RT was its own. I mean, if you really think about it, what it should have been, and I'm not going into the financial end, how well they would have done market share wise
Yeah,
or any of that,
yeah,
but what they should have done with Windows RT was market it as a tablet OS
yeah.
and forget about the
It
desktop
should have been
function
their
on
version
that.
of iPad OS, a different thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no desktop on this thing. D- Uh, d-
Well,
get
yeah.
rid of it.
Well, you know what?
Have
I actually,
and
you don't
just
have to
run
even have. You
the
don't even have
Metro
to be that.
UI.
Yeah, it could, right. The point is this. Look, this is a debate actually that's been going on within and outside of Microsoft for many, many years, well ahead of that. I mean, why does the consumer version of Windows look exactly like the business version of Windows? I mean,
Mm,
they could look completely different.
of
They
course,
could
yeah.
run the same apps. I mean, like, why, like one of the things about Windows RT was there is this mobile app platform. And those apps, if you make an app for that platform, it will run on RT and it will run on Windows 8, which is real Windows. So if that thing took off, and it never did, and they evolved it into, the universal Windows platform with Windows 10, but if it had taken off, we really maybe wouldn't even be having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because that might have solved the problem, but it didn't. So it failed with Windows RT. S mode failed. Windows 10 on ARM has not officially failed, but seriously, it's a failure. And the lesson for each of those things is exactly the same. You can't make something that looks exactly like Windows that doesn't run everything that a Windows user expects.
Yeah.
And they
It's
all
not
have
Windows though.
limitations.
Yeah.
It's not Windows. No one wants not Windows, you know? And I think maybe that was the thinking for RT was, well, if we make a thing that isn't Windows, no one's going to buy it anyway. Like maybe the hope was at least if it's familiar, they'll know how to use it, and then we won't have to have training. But I think ultimately that just disappointed so many people. It was just non-tenable.
Yeah. Very interesting. I do want to talk about some other news that came out, but before we do, I want to talk about our great sponsor, and that's Future. Future's a fitness app that matches you with an elite personal trainer for one-on-one training. This is actually very unique and really awesome. I signed up for Future, and I got my trainer, and we talk almost every day. We go back and forth, and the way that it works, they pair you with a world-class personal trainer or coach. You get personalized workout plans. Your plans are created to work with your schedule, your routine, your goals, and your progress. So a lot of people have different goals. A lot of people have a different schedule. What works for you may not work for me. So what Future does is they personalize the training process. Every day, your coach checks in with you to keep you on track. They send you messages, make adjustments to your routine if something comes up. Your data can be tracked with an Apple Watch, which is really cool. And if you don't have one, Future will send you one, along with everything else that you need to get started. You can sign up for Future today at tryfuture.com/Andrew. That's tryfuture.com/Andrew. And you get your first 2 weeks with your personal trainer for only $1. That's $1 for 14 days of training. That's not bad at all. I'll tell you. Tryfuture.com/Andrew. Get your first 2 weeks for only $1. I want to thank Future for supporting the show. I started doing this, and it's great because I'm not really big on like the multi-hour workouts. I like a good 30-minute workout and I'm done. Easy breezy. And the workout plan that we have works for me in that sense because I get to go to work or I get to go into the city or go out, and it all works together, which I love. Tryfuture.com/Andrew. Get your first 2 weeks with your personal trainer for $1. That's tryfuture.com/Andrew. Let's talk about, here's something very interesting. For years and years, we've always spoken about how I feel like the big mistake that Google made with their Pixel line
Mhm.
and their personal branded phone line was they skewed away from the affordability, right? That
Yeah.
was a big selling point for many, many people. And if we're talking market share, with the Nexus line, they had that. They had the affordability, and there was pretty decent hardware on these devices. The phone market has gotten so inflated with the price points. Today, we're going to find out if the rumors are true regarding the Samsung Galaxy S20, where the highest end version is about $1,400. That is a tremendous amount of money that most people don't even realize they're paying because they just pay monthly of $49 and that's it. It's just in their bill. They don't even think about what they've spent. But Google had an opportunity to make these affordable, entry level or above entry level. I should say.
What do you think though? Like, I wonder about this sometimes because obviously before Pixel they had Nexus.
Yeah.
Those phones, with a couple of exceptions, I remember they jumped the shark. I think with I'm forgetting the models now. The 6, I think, which is the Motorola phone. Most of them were affordable. So
Yeah.
the 6P and the 5X were very affordable. The original 5, remember, was an incredible phone as well. They must have lost a lot of money on those, right? I mean, I think the problem for Google is they don't have the volume to get the pricing that a Samsung would get. And the hardware must be kind of a money losing proposition for them. So I'm sure they were thinking if we just ramp up the design, maybe people will pay this premium. But the problem is, at the price point they sell it, you get iPhones, which were all flagships.
Yeah.
With a really nice
Samsung's are all
Samsung.
flagships. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Apple has done, rather than releasing a phone that's new and affordable, they tried it once.
Right.
Now what they do, they keep their older phones on still being sold for a couple $100, $500, $600, $700, and that is their version of the affordable version of their iPhone. Now it's a whole different game, right? Apple really doesn't care about selling their flagship or one phone. Their entire model has shifted into selling as many iPhones as possible. They don't care what iPhone you buy as long as you're buying an iPhone. For the most part, obviously they care if you're spending some more money, but their whole thing is market saturation because they can't compete with a Samsung that's hitting every place in the market, low end, mid range, high end. They have about 500 phones on the market. I'm exaggerating, but they have a ton of phones on the market, and Apple's now approaching this almost in the same way. The iPhone 9 or SE2. I've heard both names used for this. The rumored price is $399, Paul.
Yeah.
Does that change anything here? It's going to have the form factor of the older iPhones.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. Really, there's really not too many people complain about, the iPhone 6s and 7s and 8s. So what do you think of this? A $399 version, a lower mid-range phone?
It's the timing is incredible. Apple just had like this blockbuster quarter where they were even with or surpassed the sales of Samsung for the first time in years, depending on who you ask. So at a time, and what all they did was drop the price of what used to be the XR or the 10R or whatever they were calling it by like $50 in the blockbuster quarter. So they're going to come out in March or whenever with a $399 phone. I mean, they're going to sell millions of those things, millions.
So the specs I had here that I just closed out, Paul, I don't know if you have it in front of you. Can't find it because I just closed out all my tabs. Either way, it's going to be a lower end phone. It's
going to be a smaller phone too, which is kind of interesting, right?
Inch.
And you were just talking like you just mentioned Apple's strategy for dealing with the kind of the big middle part of the market before was keeping previous devices in market for a couple of years, which by the way has probably worked out really well for them. This phone in a way is very much what the first SE was, which was take this design that you had before, reuse it, put new internals in it, and sell it for a reasonable price. For the people who are used to these gigantic screens that you get today on like the what are they called? Not the 10. What are they called? What are these things called? The 11. Sorry, not the tennis. The iPhone 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max or whatever. The screen on this thing is probably going to be too small, but like $399 for a brand new iPhone.
Yeah. So here's some of the rumored specs.
That's amazing.
I found it. 4.7-inch display, so it's smaller, obviously, smaller screen, but for a lot of people, it's not a bad size to have. 12 megapixel rear facing camera, 7 megapixel front facing camera. It's going to be run to A13 chip
Yep.
with 3 gigs of RAM, storage 64
Mhm.
gigs, not expandable, and a 1700 milliamp battery. So it's a smaller battery,
Yeah. Yep. It is
much
a
smaller
small
than what you
battery. Yep.
currently get in the iPhone. But
Mhm.
listen, for $399, very affordable.
Yeah. Yep. No, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but I mean, I, I Apple doesn't price things this way typically. Apple saw great success with the iPad after years of falling sales by just releasing a good cheap version of it, right? The 9.7 and now we have a 10.2 or whatever it is inch version, base iPhone or iPad all of a sudden is a runaway bestseller, and all they really did was lower the price and keep the quality up.
Mhm.
I There's absolutely no way they can't do this right in the phone market as well. So there will always be those things. I mean, you're going to be able to point to something and say, well, the DPI on the screen isn't that high. It's using older technology. It's blah blah blah, whatever it
But
is.
that's
But
fine. That's okay.
it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many iPhone 7s are in the wild still that nobody complains about? Yeah, think
How
about that.
many? Yeah, right.
People
I
are
don't. Yeah,
walking around with iPhone 7 Pluses all day long, and it's fine, and that is a much older chipset inside of it. Right? I mean, it really comes down to
yeah,
perspective. How it's having it available, having a $399 iPhone available on the market, is very enticing for somebody to
yeah,
have a secondary phone, to
yeah.
maybe even
Phone for
jump ship,
kids.
a phone for kids.
Yeah,
This is going to replace the iPod Touch, and that's fine. I know that they just
yeah.
released it, but
Sure.
it's
No, this is great. I mean,
yeah,
there's a whole market of people who haven't liked this move to bigger screen phones. I mean, I know a lot of people love them, but still a bunch of people that pine for the smaller displays. They're not going back to the five, whatever the tiny iPhone 5S screen it was or whatever. But um, this is still better than or whatever, smaller than I
yeah.
guess we'll call it than the 11. I mean, it's hard to complain about this. I mean, it's it's touch ID, not face ID. It's, whatever. But um, if you can't afford, I mean, look, there's no shame in not being able to afford $1,000 or $1,400 or whatever it is for a phone. $400. And the
Yeah.
thing, look, it's the latest internals. That thing will last for years.
Yeah.
It's just hard to, look, you can complain. I mean, one can, not you. I mean, anyone can, but there are little things you can say, whatever, whatever, whatever. But they're just nitpicking. I mean, for the most part, right? I mean, this is going to be a good device.
Well, what is it competing with? That's what we need to look at, right? It's
Yeah,
not a fair
yeah.
comparison to say, well, it's missing the 3 cameras and it's missing this and it's missing that. But the
Well,
fair
but
comparison is, okay, so $399, that's the price point. What else are we looking at on the
so
market?
okay, so I just went back recently and was using, and I think I went over a month with it. I didn't want to go back. I started using the Pixel 3a XL again. Right. This was Google's attempt last May to have a lower price version of their own products. Um, Not, by the way, not as cheap as 399. I don't believe. I think the XL version I got was probably $500, something like that. But still, for them, low price. And it's a wonderful phone. It's wonderful. I actually hated leaving it again. Like I like it better than I like the Pixel 4 XL, which is $1,000 phone. Um, I think who they're competing with is not the Pixel 3a XL. Nobody buys those. But what they're really competing with is the mass part of the market that is not buying the Samsung flagships. They're buying those things we talked about last week, the Samsung A series, J series, whatever those midline phones are. The people who buy a Motorola, anything, the
Hmm.
people who go into their Verizon store, AT&T, whatever carrier they have and say, look, I can't spend $1,000. I want a decent phone.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great phone. It's going to have a good camera. It's going to be great. The people are going to love this. I think they're
What
going to sell. This is going to be a blockbuster for
I
them.
think it is going to
This
be a
is
blockbuster
the
because
timing
you
is
have to
fantastic.
remember. You have to remember how many people, and this happens all the time, right? And rightfully
Yeah.
so, because it's absolutely true. How many people are out there that do not purchase iPhones because in their mind it's too expensive? right? The
Right.
iPhone is too expensive, and that's understandable. $1,000 for a phone is a lot of money.
Well,
What's a better way to get you in? The
yeah.
$25 that you're paying a month for a $400 phone or whatever you're going to pay $19 a month extra, or $50. Obviously,
So
$19.
I was just thinking about this, like, because of the 3XL. It's a little weird to say, like, if you, I will say this: if you buy an iPhone 11 Pro, whatever, and you spend $1,000, that phone's going to be really good for years, and you can kind of make the argument that once you spread it out over the amount of time you're going to have it, the expense is not as onerous as it might be otherwise. Blah blah blah, whatever. But the the thing is, like a brand new Pixel 4 XL, you're not going to want to be using this thing 3 or 4 years from now. I don't really think it's going to be
the
that good.
longevity goes away quick.
A Pixel 3a XL, which has like lower end parts inside, that thing, it may appear to be a good value, but if it only lasts a year or two, I mean, is it a better value? The thing that differentiates the iPhone is it's not using a mid-level iPhone processor from 3 years ago or something. It's using the latest one, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this is a modern system. Now, I realize they will cut corners in some places. The display, most likely. It's going to have bezels, right? It's not one of those all screen things. It doesn't have the Face ID, blah, 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 whatever. But I think the real value here is that you're going to pay a lot less, and it's still going to last the same amount of time as if you had bought a flagship. And that's something Google was not able to accomplish with the 3A XL, even though I love it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm running out of ways to say it's going to be great.
I know. Listen, I
it's a weird thing, but
I get
it's
it.
going to be great. That's like when you buy a new iPad. If you bought the cheap iPad, right? 150, whatever, it's like $350 or whatever. 250, right? Or you upgrade it to like 128 gigs of RAM and it's probably like 350, whatever. That thing will last for years, even though it's the cheap one. Like it will be, this is new for Apple. I mean, like you used to have to spend a lot of money to get the good one. So this is new.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, I listen. Very, very happy to do this. So here's the other issue they're having with this. It was supposed to be announced next month and released. And now, due to the coronavirus impacting China, a lot of these factories are either closed or running on a very limited personnel run, I guess. So we don't know when this is going to come out now. We don't know what's this. We have not gotten any confirmation as far as what's going on. That's the latest. They may have a phone that they cannot release at this point.
Right.
Which is bizarre if you think about it. No, I found this very interesting, and I wanted to talk to you about it. Obviously, T-Mobile and Sprint they got cleared to merge, so Sprint's no more, right? T-Mobile's absorbing
I hope
Sprint.
they're going to call the new company Tint.
Tint?
Or T.
I like Sprinty.
T-Print.
Sprinty.
T-Sprint.
Yeah. So what does this mean now with we're down to only 3 carriers, right? Major players.
So I was asking Brad about this. I mean, so what do you think about, like, I mean, obviously it's a very easy thing if you're a consumer advocate to be like, oh, consumer prices decline or consumer choice is declining. That will lead to higher prices, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, how much competition do you need to have to ensure the prices remain low, right? If you had 2 major players, if it was just AT&T and Verizon, I mean, wouldn't the existence of just those 2 guys, unless they were colluding, ensure, some form of competition?
Yeah, I mean the collusion is the less people you have in the game, there's more opportunity to collude and do price fixing, and then eventually lead to. But I don't know. Again,
I'm not. Is 3 a problem? I don't know.
Is 3 a problem? And then there's multiple smaller carriers.
That's right. Exactly.
Right? There's Mint Mobile.
I just spent a ton of time over the weekend researching. It's a strong word, but just looking at like Mint Mobile, right, which probably runs on T-Mobile actually. This is that NVMO, whatever those are called, that Ryan Reynolds partially owns or whatever, and you can get like a plan. It's like 12 gigs of data per month. You pay for a year, it's like $300. It's like This
Also,
is a
there
really
are
good
there are
value.
carriers out there also. I give an example. There are certain specialty carriers that do no voice, only do
Yeah,
text and data, which,
sure.
to be honest, I probably could use that more than anything else.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'll give an example. Like all my relatives, almost at this point, like anybody, like friends and whatever. If you have an iPhone, I'm doing a FaceTime audio call because it sounds so much better than a regular,
Right, right.
phone call. So I could
I don't
probably
know.
that might be fine for me. I don't need a phone number on this.
The issue I have when I look at T-Mobile and Sprint is has nothing to do with competition or whatever. To me, these guys were pretty much also rans to begin with. Although T-Mobile in recent years, I think, has done a tremendous job of at least marketing themselves. I'm not really sure to the quality, but it
Uh,
seems like they've moved ahead, in
big
that
market,
capacity.
in New York. They're fine. They're
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Price
But
point wise, very affordable compared
okay.
to AT&T and Verizon. They've done a decent job. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say anything
Right.
bad about
Okay.
it.
So they've established themselves, but T-Mobile and Sprint are using completely different network technologies. So you get into an interesting area here. Like one of the advantages of Google Fi that I really like is that it does network hopping, right? So they're riding on the backs of other networks. And the phones that natively support Fi, like well, the Google phones primarily and a couple Motorola's, I think, actually have two antennas in them. So they have one for CDMA and one for GSM. And what that means is that no matter where you are, hopefully you'll have the best possible connection and it will hop between the networks as needed. Plus, it can hop over CDMA or, from CDMA to GSM or vice versa. It'd be kind of cool. I don't think they're going to do this, but it'd be kind of neat if that was one of the things you could do as a T-Mobile Sprint customer. Of course, you'd need a new phone that had these dual antennas, and you'd have to get the phone makers to buy into it. But um, I don't think that's what they're going to do. But if it's not, that means they have an expensive road ahead where they're going to have to replace someone's network over time with the others, right?
Yeah.
And I don't exactly understand what the plan is there.
Do you remember when
We'll see.
Sprint and Nextel merged
No,
and what that did?
mm-mm.
Sprint
Was it a
observed.
similar thing to what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but the reason why they bought them is because of the radio frequency. That was a valuable thing for Nextel. Yeah, they had their own. It was CDMA, but they were running that walkie-talkie function that Sprint did nothing with, and really was not able to kind of do anything and capitalize on that for many years. It was. I think they still have some phones that use it, generally for, uh, you know, specialty
It sounds
orders,
like
I
like an
guess.
emergency services kind of thing almost.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know who has the better network at this point, but it's two
Oh,
separate technologies. How are they
I
going to
I
utilize
bet
this?
T-Mobile has the better network.
You
You
think so
want to
now?
look to move forward into the. I don't know how Verizon was able to pull this off, but you really you want to be on GSM, you know, and that's like I think I don't know how
See, I don't know how
Verizon
true
must
that is
technically
anymore.
ship dual chips, right? Because when you go to Europe, it's all GSM. So for you to work, you have to have a SIM um, or that native capability. I mean, they must. I don't know how they do it.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just feel like GSM's is the clear future. So
Yeah, so I'm looking at the prices. I'll give an example. Sprint is $80 a month. You get unlimited. I like that they have all unlimited plans. This is the best, right? Unlimited
is
basic,
it
unlimited
unlimited
plus,
with an
unlimited
asterisk?
premium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unlimited
everything is
premium,
yeah.
unlimited plus.
Unlimited plus. So here's how
Yes.
this works for Sprint. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
So unlimited means DVD quality video streaming and
Oh,
500 megs of LTE hotspotting.
you know
Unlimited
what though?
plus gives you 1080p HD video streaming plus 50 gigs of LTE hotspot, and then the premium gives you full HD streaming. I don't know what full HD streaming versus HD video streaming means, and then 100 gigs of LTE mobile hotspot.
So it's okay to have unlimited data, but then to cap the, I guess, the bandwidth for video or whatever. Like that makes sense to me. In other words, you're saying like you're on a phone.
Yeah.
So do you need it to be 1080p streaming over your, cellular network? I mean, it's a tiny screen anyway. So what you just described, DVD is sub HD. It's like what was that? 720 by 480, 480p
480p.
is what it is. So yeah, I mean that's perfectly acceptable, right? I mean, that wouldn't bug me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I don't think most
I
people
don't
care, to be
strip. I don't.
honest. If it works,
I
it
guess if
works. People don't
that would be
care.
a step up from what I do because on Google Fi, I would never stream video on the cellular network. I'd be afraid of killing my,
Yeah.
the price. I mean, it would look great, but it would the cost would be astronomical.
Yeah. That happened today. Let's see what happens in the long run. So you wrote an article on Thurrott.com for Thurrott Premium,
Hmm.
and I wanted to talk to you about this, and it's called subscription fatigue, and this is something we talk about regularly
Yeah,
on. A lot of people, and I'm not saying this is where we're at right now, but a lot of people left cable and did these
right.
subscription services because they were saving money in the long run, right? So
I
originally there was Hulu and Netflix, and then Amazon Prime, but
yeah,
now you have Disney Plus, you could get Apple TV Plus, you got
yep.
MLB, you got WWE Network, you got UFC Fight Pass,
MLB
NFL.
TV, there's NFL,
Everybody
there's
has it.
and then all the cord cutting, the YouTubes, the YouTube TV. I mean, all that stuff. Yeah, so I will say it's funny how perception changes over time. I think you're right. I think when this movement started, a lot of people were looking at their cable bill and they were saying, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm going to move to these services. I'm going to save money because I'm already paying that company for the internet anyway. I'll just use it more. And over time, of course, especially if you got a YouTube TV or a PlayStation View when that was the thing, or Direct TV Now or whatever that's called now, the prices of those services has gone up because the content providers are sticking it to them just like they do to the cable companies. They want them to buy packages, et cetera, et cetera. And now people are getting a little disgruntled. And they're like, oh, what was the point? Like I should have stuck with cable. But the point is the choice and the ability and the mobility, we'll call it, the ability to chop a service off, start up a new one, stop it, start up a new one. There's a little bit of management involved there if you want to go that route. But one thing I've sort of it would give as a bit of advice, I haven't been able to follow myself, but oh, actually, I've done this a little bit. Is if you want to save money, just figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um,
And what you need.
I'm gonna watch Netflix this month, and I'm gonna binge watch the hell out of whatever the things are. The next month after that, I'm gonna binge watch, Hulu or whatever it is, or like last year, Game of Thrones was coming out for the last season, and we subscribed temporarily to HBO Go. When Homeland, like the new season, the last season of Homeland's coming out. Once that's done, we will binge watch it on Showtime Now or whatever it's called, and we'll do it for the 1 month probably, and then we'll get rid of it. I mean, you can still save money if you want to, but I think but even if you're not saving money, the ability to just change at the drop of a hat, I think that versatility, that freedom, or whatever you want to call it. I think that's still advantageous.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this list that you have on the website, right? And
Hmm.
I'm just going to go through how I use stuff. Like Netflix, I'm using it less and less. Um, I I've seen what I want to see, and then essentially how I do it. I should do it the way you'd use these services, where you cancel when you don't need them. But I use Netflix. I have Hulu.
Yep.
I don't know why I still pay for Hulu because I haven't turned it on in a while.
See,
Amazon
we
Prime
watch Hulu every
Video.
day.
That comes, yeah, because you do the 30-minute lunch,
Yeah, the lunch
right?
thing.
Yeah. So Amazon Prime Video, that's free essentially, right? It comes in the cost of Amazon Prime, so I'm not going to count that. Disney Plus by far is the most useful service that I have subscribed to because of the kids.
Because you have little kids.
Because I
Yeah.
got little kids and they absolutely love it. So
Yep.
to be honest, the money that actually I got the first year free because I have Verizon, but for
Right.
$6.99 a month, it is by far the best one for its value. I don't
Yeah,
subscribe to
I would say for
YouTube
anyone
service.
with kids, Disney is is right in the no brainer category.
Yeah. Yeah. Um YouTube I do not pay for. I did the ad-free viewing for a while, but it really doesn't bother me that I got to sit through, a little ad in the beginning of every video. So I'm fine
Okay.
with it because they're short
Yep.
anyway.
Sure.
I tend to watch the most content on YouTube. That's how I consume. Like I stopped
Yeah.
watching Netflix at night or Hulu at night. I just watch YouTube videos. Like that's on the TV, and
Yeah,
this was
no, my
something that I
wife
would
and I
complain
binge watch
about.
shows, so it could be whatever service. It's going to vary
Yeah,
according to the. But I spend a lot of time on YouTube for sure.
yeah. Apple TV Plus, I don't care
Yeah.
for. Does nothing for me.
Well, I got it
MLB
for free. I mean,
TV,
I bought an iPhone, so it's free. So
yeah. MLB TV, I have the iPhone too, but I haven't even used it. MLB TV, it's niche. If you like baseball, worth it.
yep,
I subscribe
yep,
to the WWE Network. I subscribe to ESPN Plus, and I have
right,
the UFC Fight Pass. So these are all services that have kind of built on top of each other. And what we're seeing
right,
also is the fatigue is real. There was a WWE investors call last week, and we're talking about the WWE Network numbers.
right.
And they've seen the number go down because you have so much more competition. If you are thinking about, do I need to get the WWE Network or do I get Disney Plus? The smart pick is Disney Plus. You're going to get way more content on there. And if you have
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
that's the way to do it. Now, every service also on top of this has a streaming service. You got HBO Max now and Showtime and all the other ones. Peacock Network is now launching for
Yeah, that stuff
NBC.
makes me insane. Like, if you want to watch the Star Trek stuff, you got to get CBS All Access or whatever it's called. I mean, this is these content creators are going to contribute to the fatigue because there's going to be just too many of them. Um, I I don't know. Like Amazon is an interesting case. They've been around for a long time. They do have original content. I don't like most of it or care for most of it or know about a lot of it or whatever. Like I don't feel like they're at the top, but I get Amazon Prime with Prime. Prime Video with
Hmm.
Prime. So we pay for Prime just for the shipping. It has nothing to do with anything else you get with it. Although all that stuff is great, I'm glad it's there. But if I didn't have access to, if I could save $5 on Prime, I'd get rid of Prime Video. We almost never use it.
Yeah. And it seems like the new approach is to offer a free version of your service and then
Yeah,
have the premium for a lower cost.
yeah.
Like Peacock is going to do free. I don't know what you could watch, but you could watch a whole bunch of stuff for free, and then they're going to have a premium plan for
They'll probably
$4.99.
have like an ad-based version.
Yeah.
I one of the things there isn't as much of this as I thought, but some of them have tiers, and so like Netflix and Hulu both have tiers, and we have the most expensive Netflix version because there's 4 people watching it. There's 3 different queues of shows because my daughter and my son and then me and my wife both all want different things. We watch them on different screens. We watch them in 4K, you know.
Yeah.
So like I have the version where it can be in 4K, it can be on 4 different screens. We don't really do this, but you can download them to devices if you want to. If you're going to travel offline, whatever. It's expensive. Like that's expensive. Hulu, same thing. Like Hulu, you can add. We have the no ad version, which is not the cheapest or most expensive version, but if you want to go up from there, you can get the, live TV, et cetera, et cetera. So, um, it's a lot. I specifically didn't add up what I'm spending. I like specifically didn't add it up. Anyone could read the article I wrote and be like, man, you spent a lot of money on content. And in a way, I got to be honest, that's not only is that not true, that's absolutely true. It's kind of pathetic,
Yeah.
as I think I wrote this in your article. It's a lot of money to spend, so you can sit on your ass and watch a screen. Um, it's just and subscription services are not just video. There's music. Um, I pay for Office 365. I pay for Xbox Live. There's, we spend money on ebooks and on newspapers and periodicals and content services like
Yeah.
Medium. And I mean, it just kind of goes on and on and on. And when I say pay for it, it's not like the old days. You don't pay for something and own it. You just keep paying,
You just
like it
keep
never
paying.
stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Because
so
most time people
there's
forget too.
advantages to it, but at some point it's like, gee, what's, it's like your run rate. Like how much does it cost just to be me? Like it's expensive. It's
It's
stupid.
very expensive. Very.
Yeah.
Also, on top of that, like I have YouTube TV. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You know why? For the 5 things that I watch a month.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, you're spending $10 a thing.
I'm literally spending $10 a thing. Yeah. So it's kind of
I
in
think
the
it's
middle for
easy
me.
to
I
be
don't know.
like, I mean, we also make money decisions that are kind of dumb in the opposite direction. My wife and I try to save money on flights and stuff, and you make these stupid decisions. And you're like, damn, like what in the context of like a flight experience or a trip or something, like what would have $100 killed us
Yeah.
to have a better seat or whatever that might be. But I think when you the problem with this stuff is just like there's so much of it.
There is.
And I
It's a
think
lot of
you know,
content. If you like to
yeah, you add
consume
it all
content,
up and
then
it's like, geez, like what is going on here?
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a good article, guys. I highly recommend you check it out. Paul, let's wrap it up. Go to our website, gfqnetwork.com for all things Paul. Go to Thurrott.com. You can get access to great articles like the one that we just discussed right now when you sign up for Thurrott Premium. A lot of great stuff on there. A lot of news coming out about a lot of articles actually about Windows 10X on there right now, and a whole lot more. You can go to Thurrott.com. You can follow Paul on Twitter at Thurrott. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian. All our shows are archived on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We're almost at 6,000 subscribers right now on YouTube. Also, we're everywhere podcasts are available, so please go and subscribe to us there, and we'll see you all next time. Take care. Paul, do you mind if we don't do a bonus show today?
No, I don't. I'd actually like to watch this thing anyway.
Okay.
So
All right, yeah, I
was
have
gonna ask
to go and make a call. I like these
Yeah.
quicker format shows. I don't know how you feel
Yeah.
about it. Just
Yeah.
beam. You know, it doesn't have to be
Yep.
over an hour.
Right.
I kind of like it.
Maybe we should shoot for the hour to include the after show and
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if we do 45 minutes and then that's it,
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because podcasts, and this is something we could talk about next week.
Mhm.
Podcasts have shrunk in size. Before it was a standard, like every show I did was
it's
2
because
hours.
of the compression. Sorry.
Hold on one second. I always, like an example, I always would do about 2 hours for a show. And
Right.
we cut this show from 2 hours to hour and a half to an hour. And I felt that it's a sweet spot. But all the podcasts that I listen to now, it's like 48 minutes.
By the
which
time
I
I
love.
retire, the show will be like 7 minutes long.
That'll be it. That's it. We're doing John
Yeah.
Prosser videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's just shit post about John Prosser for 15 minutes.
Can we
and
do
call
that?
it a
Can we
day.
do a show? Our April Fool's show should just be
Just-
the top 10 reasons why we hate John Prosser.
It's like I don't even know him. I
I like this though. It's become a thing. It's become a
Right.
thing, which I love. By the way, you know he leaked a lot of that information about the
I
Samsung
know I saw
S20.
that.
A lot
I
of the
saw that.
stuff.
That's why he
So
was top of mind.
I'm gonna tell you something. He sent me those photos that he posted
hmm
like a couple of weeks ago. He goes, "Please, I'm begging you, do not show anybody this." And I'm like, you know
Sure.
what? It'll be on Thurrott.com tomorrow.
Right
So I
tomorrow
wrote
morning,
to him.
exactly.
I almost sent it to you multiple times, but I didn't want him to
No,
get
I
into
would, dude,
trouble.
I would never have leaked anything like that.
No,
first.
but I kind of was like, hey, Paul, check it out. But in the sense
Yeah,
of like, use it. But he's like, listen, I'm going to be, not that you would post it, but he goes, I'll be in so much trouble if this this gets out. I know we're still live, guys. I'm not, nothing behind the scenes talk here.
Oh no, we're very open about our shit posting of John
Yeah.
Prosser.
I'm going to shitpost John Prosser for as many years as I possibly can without
Oh, my
getting
God.
a restraining order. But we
Right,
love him
right.
anyway. So, all right, guys, that's it for this week. And I guess we'll see you all later. Take care.
Let's go get unpacked.